Hi everyone, this is Derek. Before our episode starting, just a disclaimer, this episode was recorded prior to Roman Anthony being promoted and called up to the big leagues. So just wanted to give that disclaimer. I think Jason and I stand by a lot of the stuff we said. Uh, we both did not expect an injury to occur to Willier Abreu that would allow Roman Anthony to be called up. We obviously hope Willier gets healthy soon, but we are both very excited to see Roman Anthony play in the big leagues. But with that, now let's get into this episode that we recorded yesterday afternoon, maybe an hour before the news broke.
Welcome back to the Fenway Focus. I'm Jason. I'm here with Derek. Happy 6-9. And ironically, these past 2 weeks, the Red Sox have been absolutely 6-9. So Derek, let's not wait. How are you doing? And yeah, any comments on what I just said?
Well, now I know why you wanted to host this episode.
Yeah, yeah, I'm there.
Ay, ay. Good one. Nah, it's been an interesting couple of weeks for the Red Sox. It has. Obviously, we didn't record last week. We had a lot of stuff going on and whatever, both of us. But especially me, I am now home in Florida. It's been a whirlwind couple weeks. Um, but it's been something. I think there's been a lot up and down. I mean, they go 6-9, and you kind of look at the
Nice.
last 2 weeks. You get swept by Milwaukee, then you win 2 out of 3 against Atlanta. Then you lose 2 out of 3 to the Angels, and then you go into New York and win that series against the Yankees. You go 2-1 in that series, and the two games you win are the two nationally televised games, right? Like it's it's interesting because I feel like a lot last year for the Red Sox, their kind of big coming out party was I think it was the June 16th game, which coincidentally my birthday was the Father's Day game on Sunday Night Baseball. I think it was against the Yankees. I think it was where they kind of like they stole like the 50 million
Yeah, it
bases
was when they stole they ran
because
all over what's his
yeah,
face.
because the last the like since they brought out the balanced schedule, the first time the Red Sox play the Yankees is that first like weekend of June, and then or like at least that weekend before Father's Day, and then the next time they
Yeah.
play the Yankees is at home on Father's Day weekend. The reason I know that is because my birthday is on June 16th. Last year, my birthday the was on Father's Day. I think the year before was a couple days before, or whatever. It so yes, like it's this time last year the Red Sox had their coming out party, at least their national coming out party. I feel like this weekend was an interesting one because of the fact that like on that, because I guess you could say big stage sort of, the Red Sox had two games where you have Crochet in one, and obviously didn't have the best of starts, but he gave them enough length to carry the game and keep the team in front when they put up 10 runs instead of only going 2 or 3 innings. And then on the Sunday night game, the Red Sox win that one 11-7. Got a little bit tight at the end. They did have to bring in Chapman for a save. It was only a 1 out save, but I mean they still got 5 innings from Dobbins, considering his pregame comments too. That was nice. And then kind of the offensive explosion kind of between the fifth, but mostly the sixth inning. But between the fifth and sixth, they scored 7 runs. So it was definitely a nice weekend. But over the last 2 weeks, it's been up and down, very much so.
I think it's been more down than up.
Yeah, that too,
Like,
especially.
yeah, did Chapman get the? Oh my, yeah, he did because the tying run was on deck. Yeah, I called it too. Um, anyways, yeah, I think the one other thing I want to note too is like you mentioned the balanced schedule in the Yankees. They've always played the Yankees late, even without the balanced schedule. But whatever. I just think between the last because we didn't do an episode last week because of timing issues. Uh, The Red Sox lost a series against the Angels at home, and two of them were one-run losses. The first one was like awful. Second one was also awful. The third one you should have lost too. But the Red Sox, I don't have a stat in front of me, but the Red Sox starters outside of Crochet have not been good, right? They've been Bayo, not good. Giolito, he didn't have anything. Fitz, I'm not gonna count really, but like because the Red Sox screwed him, but like still, like, come on.
He should still be on a
Brutal.
rehab assignment, basically, is what we're saying. He
Correct.
shouldn't have been pulled off his rehab assignment.
Yeah, Bueller went too. The bullpen is absolutely gassed. We saw yesterday trying to go to Zach Kelly because you didn't want to go to Greg Weiser, or going with Robert Stock because he didn't want to go to Chapman. Up by 6. Nothing's easy for this team, and it goes to show. Shoot, if we did have this pitching depth, we'd be in a whole different situation. And I think that is the biggest issue on this team, right? Not having starters go 5 innings. Like, I hate to say this. I thought going into the season, the rotation was going to be a strength. You added Crochet to an already good Houck and Crawford. You add Walker Bueller to the rotation. It's good. Oh, Giolito's coming back. He's a solid back end of your rotation. Not to mention Brian Bayo, among others. Hunter Dobbins is depth. Richard Fitz is depth. You had Quinn Priester at the time. Now he's gone. Shout out Yoferi Rodriguez in Greenville. Yeah, I know you like that. But yeah, I think now it's one of the biggest weaknesses on the team, because now the bullpen is gassed, and every time a starter goes 4 2/3, you have to ask the bullpen to go above and beyond every night. And we see it now. They're fine, but if you go on a month from now, they're going to be more gassed than they are. Just look, Nick Birdie went on the IL. Zach Kelly's up. I'm going to look at the 40-man roster. They're in trouble in terms of depth. They have gone through so much of it, right? And it's tough, because you really want to have a good surplus and depth of arms, right? Robert Stock, right? Birdie's on the injured list. Sandoval, obviously, no, he's not really.
Winkowski just got added to the 60-day.
Winkowski got
I
added
mean,
to the
he's still
60.
an arm, right? Like, as much as we don't
He's
like him,
still
he's
in our
still an
Liam
arm.
Hendricks is on the injured list. Justin Slayton, we haven't really talked about, injured list. Zach Penrod, I think, is the only really healthy arm you
Yeah, and
have in the
he
minor
just
leagues.
became healthy, too, like,
And
only
he
like a
just
week or
became
so
healthy,
ago.
and you can't call him
Jeez.
up for 15 days because you just optioned him. The other arm that's kind of seemingly close to being ready is Chris Murphy, not Quinn Murphy. No, Chris Murphy. He's making some rehab starts. He made a few starts in Greenville. He's up in Portland now. Is he in AAA yet? I'm not sure. Something to
I
keep
don't
an eye
think so. I
on.
think he's still technically, because I think he's rehabbing still in Portland. I'm checking that right now, though. Yeah, he's
Yeah,
still rehabbing in Portland per
he's
Sox
looked solid,
Prospects.
but you cannot ask him to be the savior of this team. If they're a couple bullpen pieces, they're a couple bullpen pieces away. They need guys, and the 40-man spots, oof, like last year, they're kind of getting tight, right? And especially now, the rotation. Me and you talk about it all the time. The rotation in AAA is like, ugh. You have Ryan Van Bell, Isaac Coffey,
Yeah.
Tyler Ruberstein,
Van Bell's looked
Richard
really
Fitz.
good, though. I will say Van
Van
Bell
Bell
has
has,
looked
yes, he
really
has.
good. Coffee, I don't think he's. I think Coffee's gonna still needs some AAA time before he's a legitimate option. Uberstein's interesting. I don't know if I would immediately be like, oh, let's call up Uberstein, but he hasn't been bad if it's a spot start. I mean, you could do worse. But yeah, they're getting stretched very, very thin.
Right, but then you do have some solid, like, other arms, like bullpen arms. Like, I mean, not solid,
Strohan
but
would have been an option, but he's injured as well. So
Drohan. I'm wondering if they give a shot with Brian Mata soon.
that's iffy though, because he's been pitching out of the bullpen. Now Worcester's been doing a weird thing with their
The
bullpen pretty
two
much all
innings.
year, where instead of guys pitching like an inning here and there every other day, whatever, guys are maybe pitching once, maybe twice a week. But whenever they pitch, they're going 2 or 3 innings out of the bullpen. So it's a little bit interesting. They've been kind of doing it all year. It's really weird because they're doing it with full like pure relievers as well. So. But Mata also hasn't been. If you look by the traditional metrics, Mata hasn't been great. He's walking a lot of guys, ERA over 5. But like the stuff, the pure stuff though, is really good. It's just always the question for him is always going to come down to command.
Right. But anyways, point being, the pitching is getting very thin. Something that was considered depth early on, it's getting really thin. Austin Adams, too. Like, come on. Like, he hasn't looked good, right? I know you pay attention more. He hasn't been
Nah,
great.
Austin Adams, he does have an opt out, but I feel like I'd be relatively shocked if he uses it because he's pitched in 12 games and he's got a 6.75 ERA. So I would be heavily shocked if he opted out.
Yeah,
But yeah,
and
he's
Chris
kind of he's
Murphy's
kind
with.
of a non-option. You do have Isaiah Campbell, but he's not on the 40 man anymore. But he does have big league experience. He's been all right in Worcester, 3.77 ERA with Worcester
You
and
also have
28
Wyatt
and two
Mills
thirds
too.
innings.
He has some big league experience, not a lot, but
Eh,
some.
yeah, I mean, Mills is like another interesting one. He's at 4.09 ERA. But like those are more. We're looking still. That's still more like bullpen arms, though. You know what I mean? Like, I
Some of them.
think
I mean, we're talking about like depth of the depth.
yes, this is yeah,
This
exactly.
is depth of the depth, which is like ugh. But
Exactly.
anyways,
I think I'll just say this though, real quick. I think too, like the trading of Quinn Priester at the time looked like it made a ton of sense, and I still think with the package you got, you have to do that trade. But it is kind of there's a little bit of where it's like having someone like a Quinn Priester wouldn't be terrible right now. Now, obviously, like I said, with the package that they got, you do that trade 100 times out of 100 with the package they got. It's just they they could use someone like a Priest or someone who could come up to the big leagues and give you at the very worst some bulk out of the bullpen at the absolute worst, but could make a spot start here or there or try, like I said, try to give your bullpen some rest days, but it or at least some rest, right? But it's definitely difficult right now.
yeah, especially since you're going through it at the big league level, you're screwed. Anywho, that's enough on the pitching right now. Should we address the elephant in the room? That is a certain empire that may or may not be Roman. And
Yeah, I mean, we'll
I
just
think
flat
we
out,
have to
we have
address
to
this,
flat out just
no?
say it. We
Which is
have to. I mean, the guy
crazy.
hit a basically 500-foot grand slam. I mean, come on. I will say, right, with Roman, like, it is a difficult question because you also, too, like, probably get into it, but, like, Rafaela has been playing really good as of late, right? And, like, yeah, I know Willier has struggled in his last, like, 30 games, and
By the way, he's down to 246.
yeah, he's got a
Just saying.
68 weighted
With
runs
a
created
sub
plus and
800
plus
OPS. Just saying.
21. Yeah, Willier struggling right now, but like that you can't just call it Roman Anthony and just bench Willier. That doesn't like solve any issues. Um, Duran's been better as of late. He's not the Duran of last year necessarily still, but like over his last, right now I have the stats up from May 7th. I don't know why I picked May 7th. I think that's because it was a Monday, so it's kind of weeks wise. It's like 5 weeks, I think. Um, but since May 7th, Duran has a 116 weighted runs created plus. He's hitting 283. So, like, that's, you can live with that. Yeah, Willier's struggle as of late. But, I mean, Rafael has been the best of the Red Sox outfielders. And outside of Rafi and Carlos Narvaez, who's been a total revelation, you can make the argument Rafael has been their best player over the last month plus. And I think that's massive for Rafaela. It does hurt Roman Anthony though because you're trying to find a spot for Roman Anthony and everyone's like like solve like way to solve the problem was move Rafaela to the infield and put Duran in center and slide Roman in the left. You can't really take Rafaela out of center now, and I understand the whole way he's hitting better. You can put him in the infield, but you don't take the best defensive outfielder in baseball and move him out of the outfield. You just don't. As much as it would help solve problems, it's not the right thing to do. And I hate to bring this up. Trevor Story had a pretty good weekend. I'm not saying Trevor Story's gonna have a huge resurgence. I'm not saying that, but there is something for having a veteran guy like Story, and also too, we do have to remember how healthy has Story been over the last couple of years. Like
No.
yeah, he's hit a cold patch, but I think they mentioned it on the Fox broadcast on Saturday night how Story's still trying to he's getting reused to playing a full season because he hasn't done it in a while, which seems kind of like it seems a little bit of a weird statement because it's like he's how many full seasons has he played in big leagues? A lot, but like there could be some credence to it, but also to his story, he is historically streaky, right?
Yeah,
But like taking his story out
since the
doesn't
Brave
solve.
series, he's batting 281
Yeah,
with 2 homers, 9 hits,
you can't really
11
take him
RBI.
out. You can't, right? And especially now that he's starting to potentially heat up, or at the very least have some clutch hits. I don't. You're kind of where. I mean, and then the issue is Christian Campbell. Like I saw Ken Rosenthal in an article say like, "Oh, send Campbell down and call up Roman Anthony."
That is
Well,
pure clout.
but
Sorry.
also too, that's still you're not moving the best defensive center field, the best defensive outfielder in baseball to second base for Roman Anthony. As good as Roman Anthony is, you could very much argue your team gets worse because you're taking, you know, at least in terms of position players, you're not well. I say position player, I mean like you're instead of non-catcher, non-DH position players, right? You're taking your most valuable guy and putting him where he's not going to be nearly as valuable. I've been putting him at second base. It doesn't work. And Campbell had a hit, had a nice hit. And he had a nice what? He had an RBI single. Was it last night?
He had two. He had a
Yeah.
homer.
Oh yeah, and he had a homer. Yeah, yeah, he had a homer too. So, like, it's very much like you can't just take Campbell out. The defense, and shout out to Jake O'Donnell because he brought this up on Twitter. He actually got a little spat, not really a spat with
I'm well aware.
Lou
Lou
Merlone.
Merloni's a.
Yeah, I know. I'm just
I'm like,
but
real quick. I'm just like, what?
yeah,
Come
that
on,
was
Lou.
wild.
Like, I'm like, Lou. I thought I liked you. I mean, I
Yeah,
still
like
do.
the
But
fact
like,
that that's the
what
grave
the?
he's willing to die on is kind of insane. Um, but
The fact
besides,
that you have the audacity to say, "Have you been watching these? Have you been watching these games, Jake?"
yes, we
Is
know
crazy.
Campbell's defense has been an issue, but like, and I agree with Jake, the Red Sox have kind of dug their bed and they need to lie in it, right? They very well could have moved one of the outfielders over the offseason, especially if you're worried about Jaron Duran's long term potential because speed being his biggest calling card, right? If you are concerned about his speed deteriorating over time, there was no better time to trade him than this past offseason. That doesn't mean they still can't get something good, right? I think we have to consider that they very well could get something good still for him. But it is it definitely, I don't know. It makes it interesting because like your only way to trade Duran is you have now at this point to clear space for Roman is you have to do a midseason trade, and then do you lose the clubhouse? What happens that like everyone's talking to Padres, and I brought this up, Jason, yesterday. The only way the Red Sox trade Duran without getting DeVries or Salas back in trade is Stories included, and the Padres eat a majority, if not all, the money on that deal,
I
right?
I
And
have
you
a
can't
hard
do
time
that
thinking they
midseason.
do that though.
You can't.
I have a hard time thinking they do that too,
Got to,
because
but
it's
like,
like they're trying to get rid of Xander Bogarts, and it's like, who wants that? But at the same
it would
time,
make Raffy happy.
oh, Jesus Christ!
It would make Raffy
I'm
happy.
pretty sure this fan base would riot.
Oh,
Like,
probably, but well,
if
it
they got
depends because if
Xander
you
back,
got rid of
being like,
Story and you
why?
brought
Why didn't this
Bogarts,
should have been this should have happened earlier? But it's
oh,
like, I mean, to your point though, it's like, yeah, you have Roman, you don't have space. I've always been a proponent of, okay, I'm fine with having Cedon play center field every third day. That is fine. But the fact that he's been hitting and he's statistically one of the best defensive center fielders in the game is tough. The other thing is too, Derek, you cannot, if you trade Willie Abreu, Roman Anthony's gonna platoon with Rob Resnider in right field. Because right now
well,
they're
he's not.
treating.
Well, Cora's not letting Marcelo Meyer hit against lefties. I don't know why anyone would think he'd let Roman Anthony.
And I hate to say this, but when Bregman's ready, they're just gonna option Meyer back.
I think
Where
it
do you play
depends
him?
on when he's ready and what happens until
If
then.
he's hypothetical, he's not gonna be ready in the next 2 weeks. Or right now. If he was ready right now, I'm sorry, Meyer's going down.
Probably, but
I hate to say it,
yeah.
and I don't agree with it, but the way this team operates,
Also,
Cora's
too,
been
though,
treating
Abraham
him as
Toro's
a
been
platoon
playing so
third
good.
baseman with Abraham Toro. He is going to be in the minor leagues at this rate.
Yeah.
I hate to say that. That's the reality. But anyways, back to what I was saying. Yes, I think you have to, when it comes to Roman, you have to exercise trades with other teams. You have to look at, okay, San Diego, you said you want Duran. Give me what are we thinking? And if there's a Godfather offer, you have to take it. Not don't not a this is really good. No, it can't be good. Can't be really good. Has to be Godfather. Can't refuse. That's the only way you trade him. And who knows? Maybe you use the Padres as leverage here, being like, okay, the Padres are willing to give DeVries and some big league pieces. What do you? What, and maybe he goes to the Phillies, and the Phillies are like, how's Andrew Painter?
Yeah.
There's like that, and it's like, sure, and we know there's some teams that are going to be desperate, and it's a matter of, do you want to? I think it's tough because it's like it's June, it's 6-9, June 9th, nice, and you look at the outlook of the team, and it's like they're 3 games below 500. You just won a series against your rivals, the Yankees, who are probably going to win the division unless some catastrophic, uh, unless they suffer a colossal collapse. Shout out Jack Edwards. They're going to win the division. But it's baseball. We never know. And you need to, and like we said before, Memorial Day is when you start to figure out who teams are. The Red Sox, we know what they are because it's a sample size that's big enough to judge a team. The Red Sox, we know what the Red Sox are. With the current team of players they have, with the current roster they're fielding, this is their team. They have the talent to turn it around, and it's like you hear Cora after games, after losses, they're like, "Yeah, I'm pulling every lever and nothing's working. This is who we are. We have to get good. We have to be better. Have to be better." Cora's lost, and it's like, I don't know if they're gonna. I feel like it's getting to the point where it's late to fire a coach, like a pitching coach, like Andrew Bailey or hitting coach Pete Fasty.
Also, too,
I
you can
think we
make
would
the
have.
argument that Bailey's not the issue, and you can make an argument that Fatsy is not the issue. You could make the argument. You can make the argument.
I have my concerns about Bailey, but I think that's a separate conversation that I'm not really willing to go to at the moment. But I think we're getting past that point where it's like we're not trying to shake things up.
Yeah.
You have to. We're at that point, or shake things up in terms of internal firings, or moving someone up. I think too. You also got to look at, if you trade Duran, could you get big league pieces back? Could you get a big league pitcher that's really good back? Could you get, it's something to change.
Painter could
the
be
talent,
that, though.
The talent would still be there. The talent would still be there. The issue is, like you said, how is the clubhouse going to react? Duran is a good player, right? I don't think, I hate to say this, I don't think Cora's the biggest Duran person, but I think it's interesting to see, because I think one of my biggest concerns with DFAing Story is he's a leader. You're going to lose the clubhouse leadership there. It's tough. People look up to him. Coro's literally said, yeah, people look up to Story. They have his back. He has their backs. He really wants to be healthy. He wants to do well.
You can't get rid of Story.
Lose that.
You can't.
You lose that. It's tough.
No, you can't.
So where do you go from here? If you don't get, you have to listen on Abreu too. This also doesn't just apply to Duran. You have to listen on Abreu.
Yes.
See if there's a Godfather offer, and if there's one, take it. If not, how do you get Roman up here? If Rafaela starts to slump, you could see him in the big league. Right?
But also too, we also have to remember too, very easily could be an injury to someone. And I think that's part of the reason. You don't want to live and die by the whole all problems are going to figure themselves out. But that's kind of what they were banking on this offseason when it came to they had 6 starting pitchers for 5 spots plus all the depth guys they have. How are they going to figure out who's going to be the 5 starters? Oh, it'll figure itself out. And to be fair, it more than figured itself out. They had too many injuries. and I think that's like kind of what they're banking on for the outfield. It's like when Roman's ready, it'll figure itself out. But like
He is
clearly,
ready.
it's not. Like you could make like Willier had such a good start to the season, and he's still so good enough defensively where even if he's not hitting great, like kind of still play. You should play him. Raphael is at the point where he's playing so good defensively, and especially now that he's hitting too. Like you can't not play him. And Duran is your leadoff hitter, and like you're not going to not play Duran. So like I said, the issue's not solving itself right now. Tomorrow somebody could get injured, and here comes Roman. Right, very well could happen, but you can't bank on that happening. And this is part of the reason why I think a lot of people were, including myself, were very much on the trade Duran boat in the offseason, right? Because that's who you're going to get the most value for, one. And two, you also add in the fact that, like, that was probably when Duran's value was the highest. I'm not saying it's not high now. It still is really high, but
Yeah. I think it's interesting too. It's like, Duran's potential. I think the issue with Duran is the value is like, oh, coming at the plate, it's relatively the same. Maybe it's not as good, but the potential's still there. That's not the issue. The issue is the fact that he's 28. Just saying. And it's like, how do you get Roman here? And it's not Ken Rosenthal, props to you for that rage bait article. Send Campbell down to get Anthony up. That does not do jack shit to your team. Like, oh, Campbell's struggling. Why? I am so against sending Campbell down to AAA. What is there for him to prove there? Why are we going to stunt his development in the big leagues to send him down to AAA so he can rake, come back, and probably struggle? Oh, you work on some things in AAA. He's not. I mean, he was lost. He's been seeing the ball better as of recently. He had 2 hits. He's been kind of hot, but he's also been playing in the number 9 spot, which is, I think, half the issue too. The Red Sox were putting him at the 4. They were playing him cleanup every game, which is still an issue. Actually, Carlos Narvaez has kind of emerged, but whatever. Crazy to think that we're here saying Carlos Narvaez is emerging. Point being, you got to look at this team and you're going to be like, okay, we have Rafaela in center field. Is he gonna? I've said this before. Is he gonna slow down? No. Soon? No. Could he? Yeah. And if he does, like I said, I am not opposed to playing him every third day. Like, and how will Alex Cora play Roman Anthony's beyond me. They could do the stupid platoon crap and platoon him with Rafaela, which would suck, but it's beyond me.
I think the issue is there's no clear solution that is like the bona fide, like, absolute answer, right?
I mean, the solution was in the offseason to trade one of your surplus of outfielders because you knew we were going to have this issue right now.
Exactly. Exactly.
We talked about this in the offseason. We're like, they have a surplus of outfielders. Rafaela, Abreu, Duran. Oh, if they're all good, they're really good. You have Roman Anthony in the wings. Hell, you have Christian Campbell in the minor leagues, who doesn't really have a long-term home. It's second base, but they got Bregman. And before they got Bregman, it was like Rafi at third. Who are you going to get at second base? Whatever. You could get Bregman at second base. Yoshida was supposed to DH. That complicates so many things. And Yoshida's still hurt. I don't know where he is.
And Yoshida, they want Yoshida to play the outfield now too, which is another issue because hypothetically, let's say Yoshida's ready to go in a month. Hypothetically, I don't think he will. I don't know if he will be, but I'm just saying hypothetically, right? Okay, you call up Roman Anthony. Now you have 4 outfielders for 3 outfield spots, and then you call up, and then Yoshida's ready to go, and now you have 5 outfielders for 3 spots, right? Because Yoshida's not DHing because of Rafi.
They could use Yoshida so much right now.
Like, and the issue is you can't just get rid of Yoshida. Like, you're stuck with them, You're kind of stuck with them.
Good problem, but it's like
good problem, but like bad problem management because you could make the argument Bregman holding out so long made it difficult for them to maybe make an outfield move because You like they were kind of maybe banking on Yoshida DHing. You have your three outfielders and whatever, but now it becomes an issue because to get Bregman now, Devers is going to DH now because Bregman's playing third and not second base, and now you're going to put now Yoshida has to play the outfield, and now you add Roman Anthony into the mix. Like it becomes an issue. It becomes an issue, and like I said, there's no clear solution to the problem because every solution has another problem in it.
It's bad. Well, it's not bad, but
It's
not
like I said,
ideal.
it's a good problem to have, but because like how many teams would be dying to have an issue of if we call up the top prospect in baseball, where do we play him? Like so many teams would be dying to have that problem instead of our
But
team
it's like,
sucks.
and this goes to show because you're having this issue, the issues that are the biggest issues of this team are the pitching. That just goes to show. Because you gotta remember this team is 3 games below 500, and it's like usually if you're 3 games below 500, you're like, yeah, there's a hole in this, there's a hole here, there's a hole there. Where's the hole in the Red Sox outfield? There's none. Infield, first base, third base is Meyer, but whatever. First base, I mean, yeah, you had Abraham, Toro. But other than that, not real. I mean, shortstop maybe. At the same time, it's
Mm-hmm.
like you're fine. Pitching, woof, woof. But it's interesting. So maybe if Roman gets called up, it's like the other question is who gets sent down?
As of right now, I mean, like maybe Hamilton, right? Because Hamilton hasn't been.
No, I mean,
Well, you could make the argument that Romy can play
yeah,
infield, and with Meyer and with Toro playing some third, and you have Meyer and
it honestly might be Hamilton.
who?
Hamilton.
Yeah,
You're right.
I think it has to be
You're
Hamilton. I
right.
think like
No,
because
the
here's the
more I
issue right
think
now.
about
If I
it,
run through, let me run through like the active roster right now. Duran, Devers, Abreu, Narvaez, Rafaela, Campbell, Story. I think all both of us are saying those guys aren't going anywhere. Toro isn't going anywhere. He's playing so well. Meyer is he's staying right. So then, okay, that's your 9 guys, and you're probably your primary starting lineup, at least against right-handed pitching. Ref Snyder and Romy are going nowhere. Wong's your backup catcher, and then the only other person is David Hamilton. I don't know. As Jason is frozen on my screen, that's a fun one. Um, but no, I'll just explain too in terms of like that the roster construction. Uh, it is definitely it's an interesting one because you start looking at the big picture with with this kind of whole outfield situation with Duran, with um, oh my gosh, jeez, with Abreu, with Rafaela. Heck, Christian Campbell might potentially be in that outfield picture with Roman Anthony. With what like I know they've pushed off the Campbell playing first base thing. Long term, Campbell may end up at first base if the second base defense is rough because I don't really see any spot for him in the outfield. Considering that, like, where does he play in the outfield? This is a whole other issue. The Red Sox have a litany of middle infield prospects as well. Yeah, well, that's obviously to be seen, but like Franklin Arias is in Greenville, literally demolishing pitching. Yeah, he's only 19, but like he's probably in Double A sometime this year at this point, and who knows how fast he's going to move up the minor leagues. You have Mikey Romero in Double A, and he's been getting, he's a shortstop, but he's also been getting time at third base. One day he'll probably play some second base too. It's definitely going to be interesting to see kind of where everything falls into place. But this isn't just a now problem for the Red Sox. Also, this is also like a future issue because if Bregman is going to be on this Red Sox team long term, they're going to have a lot of roster construction issues because you add in the fact of if Bregman stays long term, he's locking down third base. Devers is locking down DH then. Middle infield, you have Story at short, but Meyer's also a shortstop, right? Campbell's probably a second baseman, but maybe he gets moved to first. But you also have Casas. Lord knows what's going to happen with Casas. Hope and pray he comes back healthy and 100 and like back to his best. But like we really don't know. But then you also add into the infield picture. You have young guys in the minor leagues, like I said, like Franklin Arias, like Mikey Romero, who in the future are going to start pushing the envelope there. In your outfield situation, Campbell could potentially end up in the outfield, but who the hell knows with that? You already have Duran, Rafaela, Abreu. You have Roman Anthony. Masataka Yoshida is not going anywhere because you can't just get rid of him, right? So, and then also too, Yastinson Garcia is in
That's
AAA,
interesting
right?
too. Yeah.
Like that's another guy, and he's on the 40-man roster, right? And that's a guy who defensively is a very good defensive center fielder as well, right? So you start putting the pieces together. The Red Sox are going to have a lot of issues when it comes to not just this year, just even next year when you start looking at roster construction. Where do you put people? Who plays where? Right? Like it does become an issue. Also, to add in the first base side, Blaze Jordan just got called up to AAA last week, right? So long term, like yeah, guys are going to have to get moved. It's going to have to happen in the big leagues and the minor leagues because there's just too much going. There's too many people for not enough spots. It's a good problem to have. Don't get me wrong. A lot of teams would be dying to have that problem. But the Red Sox are going to have to make some tough moves in the even if it's not now, even if it waits till the offseason, they're going to have to make a ton of difficult moves. And I think that's what the issue is. They're going to have to make a lot of difficult moves.
But yeah, I think no, you're right. There's a logjam, and the password's been really good too, and there's no disputing that. And it's like you got to trade someone to improve the depth at other places, like the pitching staff. You need to trade from within because the Red Sox are a position player producing machine. Go trade one of your good guys and go get some pitching in return. I hate saying this, but it's kind of like what they did with Quinn Priester last year, trading Nick York to get him. Yeah, or trading Garrett Crochet for Garrett Crochet. You traded Chase Mydrots, who's having an outstanding season. Kyle Teal just got called up to the big leagues. He's had his fair share of hits too, and you gave up Wilkman Gonzalez
And Brandon
too,
Montgomery, who was their
and
first round draft pick.
Brandon Montgomery, who was their first round draft pick. It's looking like a good trade for both sides because the Red Sox got a legitimate ace out of it. And it's like, you do that because when is the last time the Red Sox produced a good like a ace caliber pitcher? John Lester. That doesn't
and that's not even a true bona fide ace either. Like Lester was a good number one, but not a true bona fide ace.
Not a Garrett Crochet or Chris Sale.
Yes, which don't remember, those guys are hard to develop, but like still, like it's been a while even since the number one.
The White Sox developed those players pretty crazily. Like
both of them reach the big leagues too in their draft years, which is absurd. I know Crochet did as a reliever, and then I'm pretty sure Sale did as a reliever.
They traded for Crochet. Yeah,
because Crochet was the 2020.
So Crochet
draft,
was younger.
Was weird. But yeah,
Crochet's young. I keep forgetting. Like he's only 25.
Yeah, because Crochet was. Yeah,
anyways.
Crochet was out of college and then was made a reliever immediately by the White Sox in 2020. But no, I'll just say this though too. Like, don't get me wrong, the Red Sox, like their pitching development is looking really good, right? You look at guy in Hunter Dobbins, who was an 8th round draft pick, and he's now realistically the second best starter on the Red Sox this year. Like, that's a pitching development success, right? You look throughout the entire. I mean, Luis Perales was looking amazing until he needed to get Tommy John. A lot of pitchers don't get Tommy John nowadays, so you're just hoping he comes back to what he was before Tommy John. There's so many like guys in the system. Yordani Monegro just won Red Sox minor league pitcher of the month. David Sandlin's had a couple really good starts recently. You look at the high A team, Jason. I know you know all about this, but Tolley,
Peyton Tolley's legit.
Juan Valera's obviously
Brendan
on the
Clark,
injury
I haven't
list
seen
right
him
now.
pitch yet.
You can just run down the list of guys. I don't want to name everyone, but like there's a lot of good things going on with the pitching development. Even Richard Fitz to an extent, right? Although most of his development was done with the Yankees, but still. Brian Bayo going from someone who signed for under $50,000 to a big league caliber starting pitcher. That is a success, right? I know he's had his struggles, I know Bayo also wasn't under the current regime, but like it's still a success for for the Red Sox with Bayo, considering they got him for I think it was 28,000. I think it was 28,000. Like that's a success, right? Now there's like that doesn't mean this current regime's pitching development is going to totally pan out because we don't know. A lot of those guys are still in the minor leagues. Like almost every name I mentioned outside of like Dobbins and Fitz are in Double A or High A, right? Like, and there are guys in Low A too. I don't want to forget about other people as well. But but that's like a long way from materializing as well. We have to remember that. Peyton Toley could be a legitimate big league starting pitcher. There's a reason they drafted him in the second round last year. He's also still in Greenville. Does he get up to Portland at some point this year? More than likely. That doesn't mean he's getting to the big leagues this year or even next year, right? And even then, that doesn't mean he's going to be an ace as soon as he gets in the big leagues, right? And maybe he could become an ace. Who knows, right? But it's not going to happen overnight, and the Red Sox need top-of-the-line starting pitching. So, yes, the trade from within thing absolutely makes sense. You have a guy like I don't want to say, I hate saying trade prospects because I love them so much. But a guy like a Yastinson Garcia, where's his home? He's playing exclusively center field, but they have Rafaela already. Yastinson might have a higher offensive ceiling than Rafaela, don't get me wrong. But if he can get you a bona fide ace, or at least someone who's close to that, or maybe package him with another guy and you can get a really good top of the line starter, you can do that, right? And I think that's where, yes, the Red Sox can somewhat solve their issues, but they're going to have to make difficult moves. That Garrett Crochet move was a difficult move. You trade away Chase Maijatu. I think everyone, myself, Jake, Hunter, we were all on him as this guy's going to be a big leaguer. Probably not with the Red Sox, but he's going to be a big leaguer and a damn good one, right? But not the highest ceiling guy, but he's going to be a damn good big leaguer.
He's a ball player,
as Jake would say. You look at Kyle Teal being that number 3 prospect in the system. That's a guy who everyone believes is going to be a everyday big league catcher. You look at Braden Montgomery being a first round draft pick. Braden Montgomery, depending on if he would have been healthy and whatever, could have legitimately been a top 5 pick in the draft. And then Wilkerman Gonzalez, pure stuff, right? You need more of a little bit. I don't want to say a lottery ticket because he's not necessarily a lottery ticket, but with the stuff he has, at worst, he could be a potential up and down reliever at worst. At best, he could be a decent starter, probably more of a bullpen guy with this lack of command at this point, but still, right? That's a lot to give up for one player, but also, too, that player getting back is Garrett Crochet. But that still is a tough move to pull the trigger on, right? Because the Red Sox could give up a lot in that trade. But those are the type of moves the Red Sox are going to have to make if they want to turn themselves into a World Series team. They're going to have to make tough decisions. Everyone says they want to model themselves after the Dodgers, and that's great. You don't think the Dodgers have had to make difficult decisions? Hell, they traded away Matt Kemp twice. The guy who at one point was the face of their franchise, and they traded him twice. Now, for good reason, because he was their center fielder, and his center field defense was miserable at best at times, right? But, they traded away the guy who everyone thought was going to be the face of their franchise 2 times. I'm just saying. Their tough decisions are going to have to be made if the Red Sox want to turn themselves into a World Series team.
Regardless. Yeah.
Now this is turning into more of an outlook episode than just focusing on the last couple of weeks. But you do have to kind of outlook because at the end of the day, if the Red Sox miss the playoffs this year or they make the playoffs this year, if they don't win the World Series this year, you're trying to win it next year or the year after that and the year after that. The Red Sox want to win a World Series every year. So you can't just throw all the chips in on the table in this year. Everyone would love to be all in, but you can't just be all in. You can go in and try and win a World Series every year, but you still have to have an eye towards what's coming in the future because you need the Red Sox, if you want to truly win every single year, which is what they're trying to do. They're trying to replicate the Dodgers, which I don't think they can because now the Dodgers are spending big money, but that's besides the point. Yes,
it's hard to replicate the Dodgers model because
even the Astros though. Even if you want to,
they never really had to go through a rebuild. the Astros had a good core of young
Yes, because they
players that
were
they've
terrible for
developed,
so
and they
long.
replaced them.
But yes, but
Yeah,
even after when you start replacing some of those guys with like a Jeremy Pena, right? You replace Correa with Jeremy Pena, they end up taking
Springer with Tucker in a way.
Tucker.
In a way,
Yeah, they use the same draft as Bregman, so it's a little bit different. But like you trade away Tucker, you have Cam Smith. You also they bring in Isaac Paredes in that trade to replace Bregman, right? And Paredes is like a perfect fit for Houston in terms of that ballpark, right? Like you see like how Yainer Diaz has turned into their catcher. Maldonado starts to suck. Oh, here comes Yainer Diaz, right? The pitching staff, their pitching development in terms of they've never really had elite prospects, but you look at Framber Valdez, right? You look at what Hunter Brown has turned himself into. There was points
oh
in
my
time where we
goodness.
thought Luis Garcia was going to be a solid big league starter, although he's had his health issues, right? And there's a lot of guys with that Astros team where you look at that and go like, that might be able to be replicated, right? I mean, you look at their rotation,
They
right?
traded Ryan Presley and
Yeah,
Tucker
like
this
you look at their
offseason.
rotation right now, outside of Brandon Walter, which shout out Brandon Walter, Framber Valdez, Colton Gordon, Hunter Brown, Lance McCullers, Ryan Gusto, they're all homegrown guys. You look at their pitchers um on the injured list, Spencer Arrighetti, Ronald Blanco, JP France, Luis Garcia, Christian Javier, those are also all homegrown guys, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
and then Wesneski they got in the Kyle Tucker trade, right? And he's on the injured list too. But like and then Walter they got as a free agent as well. So like none of those guys have been like outside of Wesneski they got in the Kyle Tucker trade. They're all homegrown except for one, and the one that's not homegrown they signed as a free agent after the Red Sox released him. Like you can replicate that because a lot of those pitchers weren't high level prospects. And look, Fran Morales is the model of consistency for a pitcher, in my opinion. Like he's never gonna win a Cy Young, but if you had to take like a 5-year aggregation, he might be one of the three best pitchers in baseball from the start of 2021 to now. He's probably the best, one of the best, if like he's up there for being the best pitcher in baseball over from the start of 2021 to
Mm-hmm.
now.
Yeah, and it's crazy. It's crazy how they're, but it's hard when the Red Sox. We talk about 2021, 2020 through 2024 was really supposed to be a rebuild. Hein Bloom was asked to do a really tough task, right? Rebuild the farm system while fielding a competitive team at the same time. That is extremely hard to do. He tried to do it and he got fired. Now, did I have my issues with Bloom? Yes. It's a whole separate tangent to go into. But it's like, at the same time, it's like, right now, they have these top prospects, and it's like, let's bring them to the bigs, have them struggle now. And you got to remember, too, especially with the Campbell struggles, Jackson Merrill and Jackson Churio, they didn't figure it out till really after the All-Star break. They stunk. Right? Then they start to figure it out. Then they both of them have deals. Christian Campbell's in that same bus. He even has at this time a higher OPS, I think, than Churio and Merrill did at this time last year. And look at what Merrill and Churio are doing right now in the major leagues. They're having really good sophomore years. They're figuring it out. You're really good at the start, then the league adjusts to you, then you have to adjust to the league, making the adjustments to you. And that's baseball.
Yeah.
That
Although
is
there was a
baseball.
difference in some ways
And
because yes, Merrill had turned himself into a solid defensive center fielder, and Churio wasn't like. I think Campbell has been a liability at times defensively. There's a little bit of a difference there, but yes, there's
but
no
still,
reason that Campbell
you
can't
get my
turn it
point.
around. I think that's the
It
point.
That's my point. There's Meyer too. I mean, he's good. You just got to develop him. And like I know we talk about bringing up these business models, these team models that these teams have, and it's like, sure, the Red Sox model has always been win, make the playoffs, and it's hard because they've missed the playoffs 5 of their last 6, in danger of 6 of their last 7. And it's tough. There's urgency. It was go time at the beginning here with Roman Anthony and Christian Campbell and Marcelo Meyer. And it's like I'm just doing an overall outlook, and it's like I hate to be this guy, but at the same time, it's like even when it's go time, you have these young guys. They're going to need to develop, and it's like The Red Sox, you also got to realize the Red Sox were a 500 team last year. You add Garrett Crochet, you add Alex Bregman, you add some bullpen. Well, you didn't really improve anything with the bullpen. You did get a better closer, but that's really it. They should have been a better team. But it's like they're so talented. This is kind of like I hate the people that say this could be a 2021 Braves team or a 2019 Nationals team. Do you realize it's like
Those are outliers.
every team struggles like this?
Those
Those are out exactly. Those are extreme outliers. And it's like, yeah, they can, but it's like,
also too, the Braves lost
oh
their
man, like
MVP caliber right fielder, but then still bought at the deadline because they still had a lot of talent. But like that's a
they still had a lot of talent, and the race was kind of open up. It was kind of
yes, that
open.
division was bad.
And the other thing is too, Derek. I will say, I know we're going on 50 minutes now. I mean, we can still talk, so I have some time. And I think this is a good time to transition to the deadline, kind of, right? Some deadline talk, because now is the time that you have to determine, okay, are you going to be sellers? Are you going to be buyers? Are you going to partially buy? Are you going to marginally sell? Are you going to do that
Well,
stupid
here's the other thing too.
subtract
Are
to
you
add?
going to stay over that first luxury tax threshold as well?
I will, yeah, I
Because
was going
they
to get
are
into that.
in
And it's like,
range to be able to dip under that number if they need to. Just for the record, their estimated luxury tax payroll right now is at just shy of 249 million. They'd have to get under 241, right? At this point, you trade Chapman and Bueller, and you're probably under that number, right?
yeah,
Because
probably.
Chapman, by the time
Or
the
you
deadline
trade,
comes, will
or you
be
could trade
around 4.
maybe a team could maybe use Giolito.
Giolito would
You
definitely
just
get you
might have
under
to
two,
eat.
especially, right? But like that, they are going to have to make that decision. Do they want to get under that luxury tax number as well?
And it's like if you're gonna sell, you're sell. I really do think at the end of the day they are going to sell, and here's why. Unless bearing some generational run coming up, but here's what scares me too. I don't think that's going to happen. And but hey, baseball, anything can happen. Here's why I don't think it will happen. You do have 3 against the Rays at home. Then you have the Yankees at home. Sure, rivalry. The rivalry series is always close. But then, Derek, what do they do? You want to remind me? You want to remind everybody what they do?
What?
They go on their West Coast
Oh
road trip.
yeah.
They go on their West Coast road trip, and I think they go like 3 times this year because they have to go back for the Diamondbacks, and then they have to go back for another team.
Let's just read the schedule from the until the All Star break. Like Tampa Yankees at home, then the West Coast road trip. Then they do get a lot of home games, right? 3 against Toronto, 3 against Cincinnati, then an off day. Then they travel to Washington D.C. for 3 games, and then they're back home for Rockies for 3, and then the Rays for 4, and then it's the All Star break, right? I think the main telltale
Find a
are
way
going
to
to be the
lose the
games against
Rocky
Tampa and
series.
Toronto in that stretch. So your 3 games against Tampa tonight. I mean, starting tonight. So it'll be yesterday when you hear this. Those 3 games against Toronto at the end of the month, and then the 4 games against Tampa right before the All Star break. Those 10 games are going to make or break the Red Sox season because those 2 teams are ahead of the Red Sox in the standings, and are the Rays have been like sneaky good, right? Like that Rays, you cannot write off the Rays of being a playoff team because right now the Rays haven't had Shane McClanahan throw a pitch this season. He comes back healthy, right? And you add him to the rotation where Drew Rasmussen, in my opinion, has been the most underrated pitcher in baseball this year. He's got a 2.22 ERA. Shane Baz always struggled a little bit as of late. Papio's been good. Zach Littell's been obnoxiously disgusting. Taj Valley's been up and down at times, but like it's still a very nice rotation. The bullpen, they have Fairbanks being amazing as their closer. They still have Garrett Clevenger's been really good out of the pen. I know Edwin Uceta hasn't had a good year this year. He was really good last year for them. But, like, Junior Caminero has been absurd over the last, 2 weeks. Absurd. Jonathan Aranda's been amazing this year. Yandy Diaz hasn't been the Yandy Diaz of old, but he's still serviceable. Although I could see him getting dealt at the deadline. Brandon Lau has been really nice, really good for them. Josh Lowe. Albeit he's only had 87 plate appearances this year, but he's already almost put up one F WAR already, right?
But the point is though, I think going back to, I know you're talking about
No,
the
I
win,
know.
but I think going to my point, but my point is I don't know if they'll go on a run.
I don't know if they will.
Like it's really tough. And when was the last time the Red Sox had a solid West Coast road trip? 2023 maybe?
I don't remember. It might have been. It literally might have been
Last year wasn't
2018, and they got no hit on the West Coast road trip.
Yeah. Last year was sour because of the story injury. I know they swept the A's.
Yeah, they have
but it
2
was
West
like,
Coast road trips a year now, though, too. So I think so.
they're going 3 times. Oh yeah. Oh okay. Because they're going now, and then they have to go to Sacramento, and then they have to go back in September for Arizona.
They have in August. They have San Diego and Houston. That doesn't really. Uh,
Yes, it
does
does.
that really count?
They still have to go to San Diego. San Diego.
Yeah, they have Arizona.
Kind of.
Yeah, they have Arizona and.
But this is their like
Oakland.
annual like
In
okay to. Yeah. But okay, back to my point is like, remember last year, the Red Sox, I think, in July were at one point 11 games above 500, and they were barely.
They were 1-5 on that West Coast road trip last year in July.
No. They were barely buyers at the deadline. Barely buyers. Yeah, the Dodgers and Rockies.
Dodgers and Colorado. Their West Coast road trip at the start of the year last year, they went 2-2 against Seattle. Then they swept Oakland, and they went 2-1 against the Angels. But then there was a Trevor Story injury, though.
Yeah, but they're barely buyers last year, and it's really tough this year because it's like, is Breslow and Co. going to be like, this is the exact same team as last year? Last year, we missed out on trading Pivetta, trading Kenley Jansen, trading Chris Martin, and getting all these prospects because it was a seller's market. This year is going to be with the with the wild card race wide open. It is going to be another seller's market. It is shaping up to be.
Or can we just say it's always going to be a seller's market at the deadline? It's just going to depend on how much of a seller's market.
And frankly, with the third wild card, ever since the third wild card was a thing, it has been a seller's market.
And the thing is, too, you also have to remember teams like last year's Chicago White Sox team, because they weren't trading Crochet and they weren't going to trade Lubov, they weren't selling anything. They had nothing to sell. There are going to be bad teams that don't have anything to sell because their only good talent is young talent. Or they just don't have any talent.
They're going to trade Robert. They should have traded Robert last year, but they didn't.
But that's besides the point. But you get what I'm saying in terms of there's only so many teams that they're going to be able to sell, and out of these teams that are going to sell, who has more to sell than the Red Sox? Not that many teams.
Yeah, good pieces. Chapman, every team can use. Can we trade Chapman for Cole Reagans?
Yeah, okay. No, I know why you're saying that, because I know that's what the Rangers did. I know. Yeah. But well, the thing is though.
But you make that trade. I mean, that's kind of an
outlier. You could replicate that trade though if you can find a borderline MLB pitcher who's young for a team that's pushing for a playoff spot, and you see something about that pitcher you really like, and the other team hasn't identified that yet. I'm not saying the Red Sox are, but those are the types of trades that turn you from a team that's selling at the deadline to a team that can start pushing for the playoffs and being World Series contenders. It's a trade where you get a guy who is major league depth, honestly, but kind of younger, and you see something with him. And we've seen it. How many times have we seen it with the Yankees and bullpen guys, where they pick up some guy off of waivers, and the next thing you know, he's got a sub 250 ERA down the stretch of the year, and it's where the heck did this guy come from? Look at the last 2 Yankees closers. I'm not counting Devin Williams. Who are the last 2 Yankees closers, Jason?
Luke Weaver, Clay Holmes.
Or not their last 2 closers, sorry. I'll just say Clay Holmes and Michael King. Michael King wasn't really close. He was more of a setup man, but still. He closed a little bit. But you get what I'm saying.
Not a closer.
Where did those guys come from? They pretty much kind of came from. I know Michael King wasn't a waiver grab, but Clay Holmes was, and both those guys are now really good starting pitchers with other
Clay Holmes
teams.
was a waiver grab. I thought Clay Holmes was just
Or
traded.
he might have
from
been a
Pittsburgh.
trade. He might have been a trade. I don't remember. But
Whatever.
still, you get the point I'm saying, though, right? Um, like
Yeah.
those are the types of like moves that we look at the last like 2-3 years for the Yankees. If they don't have Clay Holmes, and if Michael King doesn't turn into Michael King, one, like they don't trade for Juan Soto without Michael King. One, and two, their bullpen would have been an absolute shambles the last 2 to 3 years if they didn't have King, if they didn't have um oh, I'm already drawing a blank.
Bum, 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 bum,
This is
bum,
bad.
bum, 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 bum,
Clay Holmes. There you go.
bum, bum, bum.
If they didn't have King or Clay Holmes, their bullpen would have been absolutely in shambles the last like 2-3 years, right? Um, and that's kind of what I mean. King's a little bit different. He's not a full blown homegrown guy. Also of note, Jason, you would love this. Guess what college Michael King went to? Yep.
BC.
Um,
I knew that. You know who else went to BC? South
who?
Fralick. South Fralick, right?
Yeah, I think most people know that.
Thanks, Dave O'Brien.
But no. But I will say though, in all honesty, yeah, like the Red Sox, like those, like when's the last time the Red Sox have nabbed some guy who's maybe major league fringe and turned them into a usable piece, at least on the pitching side of things. We've seen what Rob Refsnyder has become, and Bernardino in some sense, although you could make the argument he was more minor league depth before he came to the Red Sox. But like Bernardino's turned into a solid reliever, but like it's not the same though, right? Like you look at what Clay Holmes has turned into. Michael King, I know is different because most of his time in the minor league system was with the Yankees, but
so wait, what you're saying is make Bernardino a starter?
No, I'm not
You might be onto
saying
something.
that.
You might be onto something.
No, but like you look at what King and Holmes were in that Yankees bullpen, and if those Yankees bullpens didn't have King and Holmes, they would have been miserable for the most part. They would have had no back end, right? And you look at the Red Sox. In some ways, the Red Sox keep paying these old closers a lot of money. Jansen, Chapman, you can even throw Chris Martin into the conversation. I know he wasn't a closer, but you get the point I'm making, right? When's the last time the Red Sox had a really good homegrown reliever? When's the last time the Red Sox have been willing to call up a homegrown reliever? Because that's another issue I've had with the Red Sox for a while.
Luis
now.
Guerrero. Zephyr John,
they traded
he's
to
looking
the Angels.
solid.
Ryan Fernandez they let go in the Rule 5 draft. Yeah, Luis Guerrero, nice. Can we keep him in the big leagues though?
I hope so. Ryan Fernandez sucks this year. Holy cow. Oh my!
But the point still stands.
Oh my
though.
God.
The point still stands.
He's in the minors.
No, I know, but the point still stands though. Like,
yeah, I know.
Like, who's the last homegrown reliever that it feels like they've Who's the last homegrown reliever to make like an opening day roster for the Red Sox that like is actually like seen well? Like, you look at the Red Sox bullpen. The only homegrown guy right now who's on the active roster in the bullpen is Luis Guerrero. Like, I'll read the bullpen. It's bad. All the non-homegrown guys: Chapman, Whitlock, Weiser, Bernardino, Wilson, Kelly, Stock, Birdie, Hendricks, Slayton. Go into AAA, Penrod, Isaiah Campbell. Even talking about the AAA roster: Isaiah Campbell, Wyatt Mills, Hobie Harris, Austin Adams, Giovanni Moran.
Brian Mata.
None of them are homegrown. Like, you look at the big, like
Jose Adames technically wasn't, right?
Yeah, but you know what? I'm kind of guys who at least have like big league experience, right? That's more so what I'm looking for. I mean, Jose De Leon is not homegrown, obviously. What like
Giovanni Cruz?
Yeah, like Cooper Crystal's a homegrown. Richard Fitz he's not homegrown, right? Like there's a lack of let's look at the rotation. Yes, Dobbins and Bale, that's nice, and obviously Fitz when he was healthy and not being pulled off a rehab assignment, but like Whitlock, Giolito, Bueller, Winkowski, add to the list of non-homegrown bullpen guys. Sandoval obviously has been injured. Yes, I know Crawford hasn't pitched this year, and I know Houck obviously. So it seemed like they're maybe making some strides on the starting pitching side, maybe, but like even then, none of those guys are like elite, right, or like close to it. Houck is probably the closest thing, and we don't know if that was a 1 year wonder or not at this point. I don't think it was. I think he's just had struggles commanding his pitches this year. I don't know if he'll do what he did again last year, but I could see how being a solid 2 or a good number 3, right? And when I say a good number 3, it's because they go out and get a legitimate number 2 this offseason. That's more so what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what that's why I'm saying like how, but like if they don't, I could see how still being a number 2 for this team and then being a playoff team. I just, like I said, the homegrown pitching has, in terms of the big league talent right now, is definitely behind the position player side of things. And let's be honest, it's been behind for a long time. Even dating back to that like 2018 team. It's
None of that 2018 team was really homegrown pitching wise. Sale, Price, Porcello,
it was
Evaldi.
Erod in that, like, it was literally just Erod.
Erod
No,
wasn't really
no, I know
homegrown
he
either.
wasn't. No, I know he wasn't actually homegrown. But I mean, in terms of like, at least Erod, in terms of guys who came through the Red Sox minor leagues, none of the other guys even came through the minor leagues. But yes, Erod wasn't homegrown. You look at the bullpen, like Matt Barnes.
Kimbrel.
Is that it? Is it only like Workman,
Oh, you're talking about who was?
Barnes, Workman?
Workman? Joe Kelly?
Nope, nope. Cardinals.
No.
Here's the Cardinals.
Yep. I'm thinking. Hembry
Brian
wasn't. He was with the
Johnson.
Pirates, I think.
I mean, but like
That doesn't count. Hector Velasquez.
Brian Johnson was homegrown, but like you get what I'm saying though. We're on Brian Johnson and maybe Hector Velasquez. Like, oh, I don't know. Let me check on Velasquez because I don't know if he was.
Whatever. I
But yeah.
think now is a good time to transition.
I do want to say
series.
real quick before we move on to that too. I will just say this is not us bashing the 2018 Red Sox team. It's not us bashing the current team. It's just there's. Oh, I just bring up the whole homegrown player thing too because there is hope for the future because the development in the minor leagues has looked good. Even on the pitching side, it's looked really good, right? So there's hope for the future that they can have more homegrown players come through and be established big league pieces because then they can fill in the holes with free agents with that 1 or 2 big free agent signings a la JD Martinez instead of having to fill the team with these free agent signings and then hope the young guys can fill in the holes, which is feels like somewhat what they're kind of doing now. All right, we're good to move on now.
Yeah, we are. Alrighty. Red Sox play this week. Rays and Yankees. I
4-2.
don't really care about the matchups. I'm on record on Pesky Report for predicting the Angels series right. I said I think both of them. One of them had a sweep. I think Matthew Corey and I think Bailey had 2 out of 3. I had 1 out of 3. So I hold a lot of power. As for the Yankee series, I forget what I said. I make one, so if I had to make a prediction, I'll go 2 of 3 Rays, 1 of 3 Yankees. 5 Thunder.
I'm just going 2 and 3 both series. So just the starting pitchers. The Red Sox have Bayo, Giolito, and Buehler for the Rays series. The Rays are throwing Baz, who's struggled as of late, Pepio, and Zach Littell, and we have to beat Zach Littell because
we DFA'd him and they
just
picked
need
him
to.
up from us.
And then the Yankee series is Crochet, Dobbins, and Bayo, and the Yankees will have Yarbrough, Rodon, and Fried going. I'm going with the Sox winning the first 2 and then losing the last game, but that's just what I'm going with. Although it would be fun to see Rodon get killed and then Max Fried get killed in back-to-back games. And then the salad
I just
man
can't wait for when Jazz Chisholm comes here. They're gonna boo. They're gonna boo Chisholm.
Can we get Eck in the booth just for the Friday night game against the Yankees, please? With Yarbrough pitching for them.
I hope that's not an Apple TV game.
Is it?
No, I said I hope it's not.
I'll look right now.
Let's check.
It's not, although it will be
No,
on
it's
MLB
not.
Network nationally.
Yippee ki
Can we get Eck in the booth,
Um,
please? Yarborough's pitching. Even if Yarborough only goes 2 innings, Eck only has to do 2 innings. If Yarborough goes seven, he's got to do seven. Sorry, Eck. We'll pay you on a. We'll put in. We'll start a GoFundMe, and maybe that's how we get Eck in the booth for that Friday night, or even if it's for 1 inning. Come on,
yeah.
Eck. Come on. Come on.
Alrighty. So Derek has 4 and 2. I have 3 and 3. Which leads us to our lull moment of the week.
Yay!
So I have mine.
I don't have one.
So Ryan Weathers of the Miami Marlins. So I forgot the catcher. So his catcher warming up. So you know how after every final pitch of a warm up, the catcher throws down to second base. Well, the catcher absolutely domes Ryan Weathers in the head. As the Miami Marlins are deep in a shithole, they just keep finding ways to. They keep finding creative ways to being shit. That makes sense. You can't dome your other player. You can't dome your pitcher like that. Derek, anything else you would like
I mean, it's typical
to
Marlins,
say?
isn't it?
It is very typical Marlins, which sucks.
I don't have a low moment. I guess my only low moment of
It's
the week would be
it's lol, yeah.
my only low moment of the week. It's not even a real low moment of the week. It's just the fact that the Pirates keep giving Paul Skeens no decisions or losses. They did win his start yesterday, but Skeens, even though he went 7 2/3, still got a no decision because they didn't have to score the go-ahead run until after Skeens came out of the game. Typical Pirates. I don't know.
All right, those are our lull moments of the week. So, Derek, anything else before we wrap up? And I got to get going soon.
Nothing else. All I'll just say is, please, someone tell the Red Sox to not hurt people's mental health and win both series this week, please, because I'm tired of seeing people whining and complaining on Twitter. So, please win.
Yeah, and there are a bunch of nobodies on Twitter who don't know what they're talking about. Anyways, yep, my final thought.
And somebodies who don't know what they're talking about either.
My final thought, go watch minor league baseball, especially the Greenville Drive, because I may or may not be helping produce that. So,
Hey, Jason.
yeah. Yeah, when am I getting on the minor league show to get my scouting report? Never. Damn it. I'm kidding. Alright, for Derek, I'm Jason. Take care, and we'll see you in the next one. Go Sox.
Obviously. Good job, Jason. We're so proud of you.